listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, and let us help you experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind, because that's what you get with a higher vibration. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I awakened with wolves. When I met a wolf, it talked to me just as people talk, and they taught me how to read the energy of the heart. So I could intuitively hear plants, animals, and people, and I became an intuitive healer and writer as a result. And you can find me at One True Self, onetrueself.com. So let me tell you about today's guest, Karuna, who is here to tell us about her new and wonderful book, which will hopefully help lead you into more intuition. Her book is Light on Kundalini. So let me tell you about her, and then we'll go into the book and her life and all those other interesting things. So Karuna brings her own unique brand of compassion, enthusiasm, and pure joy to every Kundalini yoga practice. She's based in Boulder, Colorado, and she offers private one-on-one teachings designed for each individual, holds a weekend intensive on various themes, and retreats all over the whole world, with an annual retreat in Costa Rica. She teaches at schools. She teaches in Boulder, Colorado. She has an academy, and she does many, many things. She practices the healing arts, and she has a nutritional background. And then it's very interesting to know that she was a Ford model in Paris, and she was an actress. And all this time, her knowledge of yoga and Kundalini has deeply influenced her life, which makes it even more fascinating. So welcome, Karuna. It's so good to have you here.
Julia, I'm so blessed to be with you all, and thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me into your energetics field. I'm so interested to know about you speaking with animals, and I live in the forest up here in Gold Hill above Boulder, so I had a fox rub up against my left calf last year. It's this very time that changed my life, actually. The next day changed my life. And so I look at Animal Speaks by Ken Andrews a lot. I reference animals a lot in my totems. So I'm very interested to know your story as well, and to go deeper and dive in deeper with Kundalini Yoga and these totems that you bring forth. So I'm excited to answer your question.
Well, I think in essence, what the wolves explained to me, and you're saying it in your book too, that all things that are pure and real and have to do with the soul come from the heart. And talking to animals and talking intuitively is a heart skill.
Yeah. And when I look down at that fox and I see, a fox has been the closest thing that's rubbed up against my physical body. But, and out in the forest and I see the moose, huge moose, and I see the bear, and I see many totems. In the forest, actually, the animals have changed my life so much. I've lived up here 30 years now, and basically solo, raising my children as well, but really entered that zone of femininity and divine feminine projects with many people I've been working with, such as yourself, doing this kind of deeper exploration. Yes, with yoga. Yes, with Light on Kundalini. Yes, with my book. And it was such an honor to have the opportunity to take the last 5 years and share this story.
Well, before we start going, I want to show you something. When she sent me the book, she wrote me, you wrote the most wonderful card when you sent me the book. Nobody does that. Thank you.
Yeah, so happy to see that. Yeah, honored.
Yeah, it was very touching. So I'm going to begin with a question that probably everybody in the outer world wants to know. How does a Ford model and British actress move into a career and life based on Kundalini yoga?
Well, I think, when you're in New York, so Eileen Ford found me in Paris with Angie Dickinson, actually. And I just heard Angie Dickinson mentioned recently, and I'm so glad she's coming back out, like give me more, and all these wonderful influencers that are giving us our wisdom back and our voice back. But when I was in Paris, I was asked to go see Eileen Ford. I was with I took a one-way ticket from Boulder, Colorado when I was 19, out on a plane, landed in Paris, and had no idea what the heck I was doing, but knew I had a journey. And so then I met Eileen Ford a year later after spending a year in Paris, waking up, and figuring it out and having the little small miracle push me through the womb, if you like, of how I was going to manage myself. And when I got to New York from Paris with Eileen Ford, she gave me this opportunity to really go out and seek. And one of the things I ended up doing was finding a very good apartment near the Integral Yoga Center, which like my landing ground on, 14 Horatio Street in New York City. And I was so lucky because I just started to explore yoga and eating, and as a model, I do know these disorders are prevalent. They have, to be in a competitive, environment. I knew immediately I needed to get a hold of who I was and how I was working. I talk about the intimacy I had with my sister and that early on loss and how to deal with that. And um, so I just really looked up to the heavens most of the time and had the opportunity to sit with amazing people in this profession of modeling, actually, and meet wonderful sisters and know how to have a sisterhood.
But you had just lost your sister when you started modeling.
Yeah. So tender.
You ended up being next to a place that helped you fill that void within yourself. The yoga.
Did. Yeah, I did. It made me sit with myself, and it also gave me a trust. It gave me, I knew that without Kathy, I had to look up and I had to find a way to engage with humanity and find people that would understand and could listen and help me through that time and be brave enough to ask for help at that time. And so the yoga was real, and the food and nutrition was really helping me through. I don't know what you drank this morning, but the celery, the cucumber, the juice of life is really in what we engage in daily, and the food really was helpful. So that integral center again was very integral in my life for sure. And
The
then
universe sent what you needed.
Yeah, luckily. I was lucky.
Yes. Why did you decide to write? Why did you decide to write the book at this time? I know you spent a lot of time on it because you started during COVID.
I did. And it was all Kurt Johnson's idea, Dr. Kurt. And he came through Colorado after we had met in Costa Rica and are just by Cags, by luck. And he was visiting Naropa and he came through Colorado and he stayed, he insisted on staying a couple of weeks longer and taking the interest in my story and really sat me down on my back deck here, looking at the Continental Divide and said, let me have it all. Tell me the whole story. And so I did. And again, I feel, Julia, this is all such a part of our healing, isn't it? I mean, it's so, to share your story, to say, hello, beautiful everybody, and talk about that truth is really a dedication to each other. So I felt like I was ready and I needed to be kind and compassionate during that process with myself and be brave and to break through and share it. And that,
And there's a lot in the book. There's a great deal in the book. Yes.
thank you. Thank you. I hope it's impactful. I hope it inspires people, especially I mean the young and a lot of young men come that want to be models and often get the information sizzled as I deliver it to them now, very honestly, and stay wise, stay true, stay honest to yourself. Know that it's a joy, it's a joy to share your beauty and your grace, but it's also there's a tendency to take the easy road, and I always say no, don't take it. Take it widely.
Mhm. Yeah. Take it wisely.
Yeah, so the Kundalini brought this. So I studied many different yoga practices and modules.
Well, that was my next question. Yeah. For people who are not familiar with this, how is this different from most other forms of yoga?
It blends. It brings us really close to meditating more. Kundalini does for me. It gives me the knowledge about my responsibilities and where I need to go next. The physical practice of Hatha Yoga takes 22 years to master. It is said, it is the science, it is researched and proven that Kundalini Yoga takes 6 months to understand. And Hatha and Anusara and Iyengar, fabulous yoga, incredibly intelligent, necessary alignment. But when you sit with yourself in these meditations that I like to teach and offer and serve now, are good. You just get kind of see the true look of your behaviors, of what you're actually.
You're saying it takes you to the authentic self more quickly than other forms.
Yeah, it kind of gives you that, Julia. Well said.
I think you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes you to your true self more quickly. It may not be like the perfect alignment in Iyengar yoga, but the soul pops out faster.
The soul, and I studied yoga in Santa Monica with yoga work, and I studied with so many wonderful women, and I always remember Ali McGraw saying, this of yoga, this kind of hatha yoga doesn't suit my body anymore. I can't do it. And I remember hearing that in my late 20s, early 30s. And I was like, oh, this is eventually going to have to switch up. this yogic practice, these, 25 back bends are going to have to translate into a city educative state of intelligence and understanding. And like you said, your true self. I love that. Our true self.
Right.
Why would we want to find that?
So, just out of curiosity, did you study in India with a teacher?
I studied in India. Well, I went to India 7 times. And believe it or not, I was my own teacher. I went on different occasions. I went for necessary needs of my own. I went to Parmat Niketan 7 times. I'm very close to Swati and Sakbidi. And she did the afterwards in my book and did, in my book launch, she all presented a beautiful video, very generous video from my book launch. And talks about the Kundalini yoga and the necessity. And my teacher at that time was Gurmukh, and I was studying under her for 7 years. She mentored me. And a studio called Golden Bridge in Los Angeles and New York. And so Gurmukh and Guru Shabad became very good friends and also important mentors in my life. And so I'll always be humbled by their acceptance from me, and who I was at that time, and luckily allowed me to move on. And in this practice, we self-initiate, so we don't look for a teacher to get an initiation from, and actually offer a mantra to, or whatever that idea is for other people to look for in yogic practices or teachers. We actually ask you to find that inside of yourself.
And we have to find the answer within ourselves to see what's aligned with us.
It's so connected. I love that. Yeah. It's all about it. In the end, we take our first breath and we leave with our last breath. Bola, with God and Guru, the Guru Granth Sahib, with the text, with the golden words of, the 10 gurus of the Sikh tradition also, and the music of Kundalini yoga is so exceptional. You're speaking to me, and you're opening inside of me, Julia, this remembrance of why I came to Kundalini yoga. And it was the music. And it was the hair. Like the first Stevie Wonder found you here, or John Denver found you here, and Mike Hake in Colorado. You're crossing the street, and all of a sudden you hear this song, and you're just like, you feel something in your heart. And that's what I feel when I sit with students and to teach them that there's this compassion that comes out as a teacher in me that that gets to relate to the student. And I love one-on-one. I love group. I love my retreats. I love working on a deeper, intellectual level with.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting thing that you're talking about, because in experiments with people who can heal or alleviate people's state of mind, they say that for 3 beats, your heart beats with theirs, and then your heart and their heart beat in synchronicity.
Wow.
The actual physical hearts align if you can heal intuitively.
I'm getting that from you, right?
Isn't that beautiful?
Joining that is so stunning. I'm covered in God bump. Thank you. Yeah. Me all love.
Because I do think if you're going to find, if you're going to find who you really are, then you're going to find what your heart sounds like. And then I wanted to ask you, because it's just such a great story, you actually used yoga to become popular as a model in Paris? Your yoga training? You were thinking about someone and he called you?
Well, Good. Okay. I'll use it that way. Okay. I love that approach.
Yeah, just leave it that way. But you thought of someone and then you ended up working for him.
Well, this is what brought me, I think, closer to yoga. I was, in a pension, penniless, literal, not heartless, but the finances were tough at 19 and a half. And it was lying in my single bed in this, place in Paris with this friend who was sharing the room with me, a model from Denver as well. And she, I wasn't getting any attention. It was 3 months into this journey that I arrived, and I had no background of understanding what it took to be a model. And as a matter of fact, when Pamela Hampton and her boyfriend found me in Boulder, Colorado, I had no intention of being a model. They asked to take my picture. I was selling, polyester pantsuits to older women at that time, the clothing store in Boulder. So it was, their insight that gave me the idea to go to Denver, find an agent, get a one-way ticket to Paris, meet, these AHIs from Paris. So 3 months into it, I'm lying there and I pick up a Vogue magazine and I look at Vogue and I say to Louise, I said, "Oh my God, Louise, this guy would love me. This Guy Baudin, he would love me. Look, all these pictures look like me. All these models look like me. This should happen. I need to meet the person." And so Peggy, my friend Peggy, takes me to lunch. It's kind of like a empathy lunch. And we walk into Joe Allen's, and there's a woman sitting in the back, and it's her agent. And I look at this woman, and she takes me to her agent, and I start, as usual, basically to cry because she looks so much like my grandmother. And I call her that, and she's insulted because she thinks the grandmother is not so attractive. And I'm like, "Oh no, you don't understand. She's so beautiful." She sends me to the photographer in the third arrondissement, Guy Baudin. I walk in, exact photographer I said to Louise that morning. And we walk in, and there's the most beautiful Swedish women sitting there, young women sitting there. And I'm in, I had lost all my luggage, and I was in the same jeans and sweatshirt and pathetic shoes and barely could get there. Seriously. And I walk in and I think I've got to exit stage left. And I sit down courageously, and Patrick from French Vogue comes up and he grabs my hand and takes me back to Guy. And I knew there had been a mistake. I knew he had to be asking me to leave, And no, he brought me to Guy, and Guy benedicts me for 6 months of French Vogue.
Wonderful story.
It was that shape. I think it's our face. I think there's this tenacity in our youth, that the trust that we have, the gift that we can really go with and really drive our karma with goodness and grace if we can keep up. And that's one of the mottos, that I use, is to keep up. And it's one of the Kundalini yoga slogans, keep up and you'll be kept up. And it's being kept up by the higher resources that we have. And I always say grace is so generous.
That's such a beautiful way to say it. Thank you. That you're kept up by the higher.
Yeah. Yeah. And Julia, when we're challenged, we need to find a way through that block. Like you said, you said, we find the teacher within. Know that she did. And the divine feminine, Julia, right now is, I'm doing documentaries I'm interviewing women, and I love to interview. I'm, on the divine feminine, and just worked up Leanne Eisler, 94 years old, a woman who just, who just come, did Kundalini yoga for the first time. And it was such an honor to sit with and we're doing a documentary on her right now, on the divine feminine. Feminine was where she brings these gifts, and she, we don't need to live in the way we used to live. Women, we need to step into our power. We need to rejoice and trust that within the
Yeah,
paying,
that's true. Joy and trust are so powerful. Yeah, we're getting ready to go to break right now, and when we come back, we'll talk about this some more. I'm Julia Griffin, and I'm here with my guest Karuna, and we'll have a brief break, and we'll talk more about how Kundalini yoga can lead to enlightenment. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm talking with Karuna. We're talking about Kundalini yoga and enlightenment, how it's changed her life in her new book. So stay tuned and prepare to open your mind and learn more. So, Karuna, one thing I wanted to ask you about is, how have you used Kundalini to get through problems, to have grace when you're going through a big transition, which I know you wrote about in your book? It was a huge transition.
Oh, it was bravely. I think again when you bring us back. I'm always going to lean on you around this animal wisdom and nature because I feel like that is the subject and the answer to many of your questions is getting back into nature. So when I moved my children and myself on top of this mountain courageously, and we transitioned back and forth from working on my modeling career, working on my acting career together, being a mother at the same time, um, you know, being a steward of the land, 150 acres up here. The truth is to mitigate through your pain and know that it is a pay in and PAYIN and not so much, you know, dwelling in the past of situations. So when I lean on who I am today and I see that where my tears, where my ancestors, I draw from that knowledge, wisdom, and grace. And I know how my grandmother, left Slovakia and at 12, and had to move into, come into America. I know how my Italian grandmother had to leave Italy as well, and grandfather, and raise 3 boys on nothing in Kincaid, Illinois. I know, I've studied my heritage and where I come from originally, and I understand that there's got to be a strength somewhere in all of us to lean on, not necessarily the situation that's devastating at that point. The tendency to get sick, to get injured, to how to deal with, divorce, how to deal with destruction, how to deal with war, working with, groups of women right now on how to come to resolve these issues in Afghanistan, speaking with women directly, young women who had no voice, Julia, whatsoever. and yet they're using their voice courageously to come out and say, we want to make a change and we trust we can. So,
You certainly went through a huge transition because, I mean, you had a beautiful house and you went off, you came back, and the entire thing was like flooded and washed away.
yes, God and Guru, Alina, yeah, they definitely have thrown me into the deep end in my life. I am not going to deny that the problem, it seems that there's a way through them, yet it's calling for me to fall to my knees and say, what do you do now? How do you deal with this right now? And that's what I did when I walked into my house and the house was flooded. And I had to lean on my yoga practice because again, there was no one.
Well, there are a lot of spiritual passages that say it's in those moments when we fall on our knees and we say, well, am I? It's more than I can dare. That's when the masters come in and give us light.
Oh, I love that. No, I love that. Thank you for being a great teacher for me right now. Thank you. Gives me great hope. And
I've certainly been on my own knees enough. Yeah. Oh, I said I've certainly been on my own knees enough.
yes, yes, yes. And if we can share our stories, I think that's the reason to write them. And give women courage. Give all beings courage. I love.
Because a lot of that is an emotional courage. A lot of that is an emotional courage for women, I think.
Again, when we lean back on the truth where our mothers were, at the time of their, mothers, how much fear, Julia, we've lived with. I have been, I mean, I'm referenced as a pioneer, but people don't know that I'm as vulnerable as everyone else and that we need each other. It's a we now to
Yeah,
each
it is
other.
we. And I believe that is the answer to so many things in the future is community and we. That community when people come forward in love.
Yes, and the timing is now. We're in perfect alignment to bring each other in, to support each other, to love each other more deeply, and without asking for anything back.
Well, one thing that's so interesting to me about your book is that you actually have a whole section on dealing with grief and different emotions and burnout and different yoga postures and breathing and all different forms of support. So will you choose one of those and tell us a little bit about that?
Grief has its way of cycling through uh, the infinite. And it takes this dense finite self to break through. So with yogic posture, we use Kriya to just pull the second chakra in and then exhale. And we use a mantra called Satnam. So it goes Satnam. And then you quietly pull the navel and then exhale, adjust. And you bring your arms up and you pull, and you sit. Okay, good. So if you interlace your fingers and you index fingers extended, cut, and your arm comes up and they're straight up above you, yeah. And you lean back slightly and your feet are grounded and your eyes are looking over the tip of the nose. And you gently pull SAT, that, and then you release with no.
No. We're actually pulling up this feeling all the way up to the light.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yes, you bring your own. So second chakra is negative mind. From navel point, below the belly button, 4 fingers width, navel point pulls navel in. And under the navel, you draw up the diaphragm into that heart. And then you release with that truth, Nam. And it's just such truth is my identity, Nam. And you play awareness. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And once you do this and you seal that navel, 3 minutes is all you need. You seal that navel point in. Then you walk around with this understanding that when I do have an emotion, it's not a commotional situation, emotional, commotional anymore. It's an intelligent awareness around, and I'll hold dear one in our psoas, in our hips, right? So when we settle in our sit bones, so when we bring the physical body in, is where I'm trying to go with this grief conversation. When we can move this grief through the lungs, through the breath, through the pranayama, into the spiral, into the eighth body, the prana, into the ninth body, which we're in right now is a 9 year, okay? 2025 Adamapa equals 9. It's subtle body. It's subtle. The way we're having our
So it transmutes the energy through the breath and the movement in the body and the hands and the Satnam. It transmutes the energy.
it transmutes and transcends, and you receive this amazing awareness in your dreams, even your dream state, in your awakened state. They both blend together. They mix like your fine, delicious potato soup. And you digest.
Okay. That's wonderful. So for anybody who's feeling sadness or grief, you should probably buy the book and learn this part of it.
I think this would be and plus it gives you the ability to trust yourself that you could do this on your own, and you don't have to, when you're in a dark night of the soul, for example, and the grief comes in and hits you, that you can breathe the breath of fire even through it. You can breathe the breath of fire. The navel can just pump itself, and you can release, and you can understand what, that taking and nurturing this moment is going to push you through this grief. It's not easy. And so many people, reach out to me and ask me, what do I do about anxiety? I have to quit my job. I'm a mother. How can and but they lift themselves up by reaching out and asking for help. And also, yes, if you buy the book, if you get the transmission through the book, which you will, on how to stay natural, how to understand your beauty and your grace, that you're not making up for anything. You don't need all.
Well, your part about naturalness is so important because I tell people just spend an hour or two doing what your inner self wants to do. If that's wash dishes, that's great. If it's go for a walk or a drive or call someone, and they're like, so do this every day. I'm like, no, because everything changes every day. What your inner self wants you to do will be different when you're moving into that natural state of being. That would be like my saying, walk a mile as fast as you can, to the whole time that you're walking, go really slowly and the deer will come out of the woods, which they will, but that's not appropriate every single day. Different things, different time. Yeah, your inner self wants it to be different at different times.
I love that. I love, love, love you're adding this, because so much of spontaneity, isn't it? And it's so cool to be so open that you can do different things at different times. And you're not linear. That's the difference with Kundalini yoga and hot yoga, for example. You're not doing the same yogic practice every day. I did. I loved it. It was great. But we grow up, we wake up, we show up, we lift up, and we mature. And eventually we want to find something more intimate. Like,
Well, yeah, you want a closer connection with the universe. I think you gave an example of a lawyer who didn't necessarily like going through his files and doing his work, and from his exposure to you, he learned a different way. He would laugh or something after he looked at the files.
Yes, there's a way to every block, like we've mentioned a few times today. And there's, yeah, this, the, it's interesting because I sit with, CEOs of very, lawyers and people that I don't know how they find me, but, they're lucky, I think, in the end, because not because of me, but because I'm giving them a way to just have a sense of humor again about everything. And also, our delicacy of our soul. Every one of us have that connection with our soul. And I don't care, if you're in the 1% or not. That makes no difference to me how I accept you into the class and into the realm of your soul and your conversation. And it's interesting because the first thing is, that is the freak out. Why did you bring me here? How could I get here? What would if your soul asked you to come here? There's no conversation outside of what you really are doing with any kind of job you're invited into offering for other people, especially a lawyer. Lawyers are so essential right now. And public and really, and that legal world out there, I know little about, to be honest. I just know, how to approach everybody in the same way, no matter who they are or how they work. And if you don't have lots of humor, and take things a little bit more lightly, we're gonna burn out. And that is in the book, is about burning out. And why would you sacrifice your nervous system effort for any one or any amount of, reasoning? There is a way. There is a way. And but the sensitivity a human being has to get to become different than how they were brought up. I mean, I was raised with tough guy, tough talker. And
Well, we do have, thousands and thousands of people thinking about the anxiety that they feel at the same time, which actually amplifies it for everyone.
oh dear, love that. Amplifies it for everyone.
But just one person who's out of it, if you can put it, if you can extend energy beyond your energy field, it can help a whole lot of people calm down quite quickly. Yeah. And it sounds like that's what you're doing.
Yeah, it seems to rub off. It's boss, and so a lot of my colleagues um um appreciate it. There's a way to have a conversation and make the room more peaceful. And that's just the joy and the happiness and that we have to bring. It's my job. And I'm delighted to be invited here to share it with every and it may seem and I hope it seems simple.
It does seem simple. I think for people who are just beginning to listen to this or maybe aren't even sure completely what we're talking about,
Right.
if you feel your heart or you feel some joy, you're being led to this kind of thing. If the feeling is good, it's saying, come on in, open the door.
The invitation is so ready for you. I so you said that and shared this information to all of your viewers, all of our friends and family out there that are listening. Please, if you're here right now, you're ready. And this awakening, and I have a yoga manual coming out in a couple of reads with the green color. We're distributing it through lightonkundalini.com, my website. And I'm very excited to share it because it takes place, not in a young 30-year-old body. It takes place in a 50-year-old body and plus a 60-year-old body. And, it's great to feel joy and happiness and, and readiness to keep evolving and really let go of the old story. That, I mean, we're coming back. We are, don't ever give up on yourself because I think the more relaxed and calm we get, and, the feel.
Oh, well, let's tell them if you're interested, look for more shows like this on the radio station. Sign up on our websites for a newsletter and open your mind to new information.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I really wanted to ask you is, it's a great question. Does Kundalini Yoga provide a way out? And you say it provides a way in.
Yeah, meditation in itself. So if you look at the 9 aspects of the universal mind, the chitta, and we go into, any one of the 9 aspects, the teacher, the educator, the leader, the artist, the actor, the defender, all these aspects have drop downs that speak to the soldier, the ombudsman, et cetera, et cetera. And I can take people through each one of these aspects. The way out is to understand where I'm defeating myself. And because I can't see the way in, I can only see the way out. I need to bring you in to see the way out of that behavior. And that behavior is ancestral, it's old school, it doesn't work. We need the now. So the in and the out got a rhythm, a cadence, a mastery. And if you're
Well, I'm going to interrupt just a second because what you said is when we release all the things that are stored, the blockages, that we become open to new possibilities and fresh energy to reopen, re-engage, and remember what we're capable of. And I think that's like our super self. And everything sort of aligns itself from there. We're running out of time. You've mentioned your new book.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. You mentioned you have a new book coming out. Do you have any classes online or any event?
Instagram. I have Instagram at Light on Kundalini. I have my LOK app. I have lots of new retreats coming up in December in Costa Rica. We just booked the days December 6th through the 13th. So I'd love to invite everybody to come in group and sit together and invite yourselves into a new experience. And also, lightonkundalini.com is my website. And also feel the blessings that you're invited and that we actually really want you to enjoy and be healthy, happy, and holy and wholesome, and just
So
enjoy.
we're going to have to close now, but I thank you so, so much from my heart for being with us. And for anyone who wants to, you can sign up for my newsletter on my website. I put a lot of information in there. And I do have a monthly class that's coming up now that you can all sign up for and listen to. So anyway, it's a joy to be with everyone. And I'll see you all in a couple weeks. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness is always lived within you to tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit onetrueself.com. That's onetrueself.com. That's ONE, trueself.com.